Twain once said, "There ain't no better way to discover whether you like someone or hate him than to travel with him." How many of you agree with that? I also believe that there are basically two types of travelers. The first type, my boyfriend belongs to that category, likes to take his time to experience everything and study the fine details. I'm the complete opposite. I don't care about the details. I only have one principle when it comes to traveling. I want to see it all, and I want to do it all. I'm here tonight to share with you the highlights of my travels to Beijing, China's capital. Now, it has been a couple of years since I visited Beijing, and it might not have been the Lara Croft, Tomb Raider type of thrills you expect. But these colorful memories have become some of the most adventurous pages in my memory bank. I joined a 5-nights, 6-day tour that left Shanghai on a midnight express train. Upon arriving in Beijing, our first stop was the Emperor's Summer Palace. It was late summer. The flowers were in full bloom in the gardens, and the ponds were covered with luscious lotus flowers and green leaves. Ducks and swans were gliding in between them. The Summer Palace is located along a lake. It has the longest corridor in the world. I walked them all. It was very long and windy. The next day, we went to Tiananmen Square. That's a political place designed to fit 1 million people. Just imagine 30 football fields linked together. It was also a very emotional place for me. I'm talking about standing on ground zero, where the 1989 student demonstration for democracy occurred. And also the tank man. Remember the tank man? Who stood fearlessly alone against tyranny. After paying homage to such a serious sight, we got to tour someplace fun, the Forbidden City. It is a massive palace covering blocks of Beijing. To hear the stories of the emperors and the empresses who lived there, their scandals will surpass any modern soap opera. For example, each emperor had thousands of concubines. Can you imagine them waking up every morning, looking up the ceiling and seeing the thousands of pair of pantyhoses hanging from them? All the guys who worked there were eunuchs. Why? Because you're not going to employ a non-eunuch around your thousands of wives. After that, we toured a jade factory where I got my jade bracelet. I had entered presuming that it would primarily be about jade jewelry. I came out amazed. There were hand-carved, life-size figurines and ornaments as big as that window that were all carved out of one piece of jade, and that took many years to complete. The next morning, we headed for the Great Wall, which is about an hour away from Beijing. As I huffed and puffed my way up to the top of one section of the wall, I suddenly heard the victory march from the movie Rocky, which is one of my favorites. And I instinctively struck the iconic Rocky pose on top of the Great Wall. To celebrate such a monumental feat, we were treated to an authentic Peking duck feast. The food was so delicious, with the ducks roasted to perfection. just as the restaurant had prepared for hundreds of years. It was also there that I discovered that all the Peking ducks that I've had in the US were fakes. Afterwards, we toured a silk factory and watched a silkwear fashion show. I was fascinated by the process of silk cultivation, how a cute baby silkworm grows into a moth to a larvae, which produces the cocoon, which silk is ultimately spun from. The demonstrator also showed us how to distinguish real silk from synthetic ones. You take a strand, burn it. Real silk will burn and produce a distinct smell because it's made of protein. In the evening, we watched a kung fu / acrobat show. I love that because I grew up with the Western acrobats, or Cirque du Soleil, and I had also taken a couple of kung fu classes during college. During the show, the crew asked for a volunteer, and my hand shot up. I was asked to sit in a large ceramic pot with a diameter measuring 1.5 meters. A very thin acrobat lying on his back spun the pot with me in it, with his feet in the air. The audiences exploded into wild cheers and applauses. At that moment, I could tell you that I identified with one animal in particular, the pet hamster. Beijing is a very vibrant city that is constantly evolving, yet still striving to maintain the Chinese culture and the touristy hotspots. The next time that I return, I can't wait to practice my newly learned skill of bargaining. I can already take something that they offer me for 700 yuan, which is approximately $100, down to 70 yuan, or $10. Can you imagine the highs and the thrills you get from that? Meanwhile, while I can't fly across the Pacific Ocean, I would just have to contend with some of the colorful souvenirs, all of which I had bargained for, to help me rekindle these lively memories.